Lovely. Well, thank you so much for inviting me to address at this event. Celebration of Dyslexia is a gift at London South Bank University. So thank you so much to Carl for putting this all together. Thank you for Neil for his fantastic help and support. And also thank you to Jonathan for his brilliant talk. All the talks so far have been absolutely excellent. So I just want to check, you can either shout out, put it on chat or thumbs up. Can everybody hear me okay? And is this pace of delivery all right? Everyone
see some thumbs up, so
cool. That's brilliant. So if we go to the next slide, please. So I am dyslexic and proud, my neurodiversity, and as you can see, my brain is fabulous, and that's all I'm going to say at that point. So if we go to the next slide, please. This is me. My name is Sam Rapp. I am a writer, a poet, playwright, and write short stories. I raise awareness through my writing, through performing poetry about neurodiversity and other genres that you'll hear a bit later. And I perform as the Dyslexic Poet, highlighting neurodiversity. So a bit about me. My background is mixed. I really am a Heinz 57. I have mixed heritage. My father was Russian, Jewish, and Egyptian. My mother was Irish, Polish, and Austrian. So I have fire in my blood. My mother was a singer, a dancer. My father was a forklift truck driver and salesman. I have a twin sister. She's also dyslexic, but never diagnosed. And I have a half brother. We experienced some difficulties in our life for domestic violence, problems with our parents' relationship, lots of estrangements and difficulties, which impacted upon my mental health. But being a writer, being creative, which a lot of dyslexic people are, I'm also a part-time lawyer, an ambassador for disability and campaign for disability awareness, equality, diversity, and inclusion for all in society. I started a company called Fun with Words Productions, which conducts creative writing workshops for all abilities, making writing fun, which you'll experience a bit later. But I always knew I was different. I knew I was different to other people, but I didn't know why. I didn't know why I struggled at grasping things, and I get things mixed up. So I say things like park car when I mean car park. And I went to Dungeness Power Station recently, and I kept saying Inverness instead of Dungeness. And the person I was with said, "Do you realise you've been saying Inverness for the whole trip?" And I said, "No." And that's so typical of somebody who's neurodiverse and dyslexic. And I wasn't diagnosed as a child. It was only till I was an adult when, unfortunately, I experienced bullying and discrimination and victimization in my professional life. And I didn't know what was wrong. And I didn't want stigma. I didn't want to be labeled. I wanted to just be me. I didn't want to be treated differently. The neurodiversity as a term was introduced by a sociologist called Judy Singer in the 1990s, and it's a very new term, and that covers autism, Asperger's, Tourette syndrome, dyslexia, etc. And some people don't want to be labelled, and some people don't want the term neurodiversity, which is absolutely fine, whatever comfortable with you. I don't mind either way. So if we go to the next slide, please. So I am dyslexic, yay. I am dyspraxic, another yay. I am dyscalculus, another yay. And I am so lucky because I have all three. And I've also got slight autism, but it's never been diagnosed. But I know I have because I recognize some of the traits. So I've got everything, basically, which is fine. I'm happy with that now. I wasn't, but I am now. Dyslexic, for those who don't know, impacts in many different ways: reading, writing, spelling, organization, working memory. Sometimes I'm chaotic, and as I said, my speech sometimes goes back to front, but I don't mind that. I think it's quite funny, actually. Dyspraxic never ever follow me in a dance class because I go the wrong way, but I'm happy. I'm doing a little dance, and if people are going the wrong way to me, that's their problem, not mine. I'm happy with that. And dyscalculus, never ask me my times tables because I don't know it. I don't know my alphabet, only bits of it. And I struggle with maths. So, for example, if somebody said to me, what's 7 times 9? I don't know. I'll look at you blank like I'm staring into space and say, what was that you asked me? No idea. If somebody said to me, that's 30 meters, I look into space and say, no idea. If somebody said to me, but 30 meters is from that lamppost to that red car, I understand that because I'm visual. You know, there's different types of dyslexia, but mine's quite visual. And I also spell out the words. So if I don't understand a word, I'll be doing that or e. So, you know, mine's completely different. And isn't it really, really funny? And I'm sure it's hilarious, but dyslexia was introduced, like many things in language, by the Greeks. And it was called, started off with just dis. And it wasn't until 1900s with Rudolf Berlin who introduced the word dyslexia. And so dyslexia was born. So if we go to the next slide, please. Oh, Neil, you're doing a fabulous job. Thank you very much. So maths, oh no. Yes, maths, oh no for me. But that's just why I was taught. And obviously, if I'd have been taught differently. So like if you look at other countries, some countries in Asia, like Indonesia and China, they teach maths in a different way. So for example, they get a basket, they put blocks in a basket, and the children are encouraged to take out the blocks in the basket, and they learn how to count that way. Now, for me, who's visual, that would actually have helped. But if somebody put something called a fraction in front of me, which I still don't understand the word or what they are, I haven't got a clue. So 1 in 7, these are obviously approximate figures because these are only the figures we know about. There's far more people that have, who are neurodiverse or have dyslexia. So 1 in 7, 1 in 10 are dyslexic that we know about. So as I said, these are just approximate figures. And I don't understand percentages, but I thought they looked good on the slide, and I'm sure some of you do. So I put them there so you can see dyspraxic, dyscalculus. So if we go to the next slide, please. So this is some data about, as I said, it depends on self-declaration, about 14.9 million have a disability in the UK. And this was a study by the Labour Force survey in 2019, which shows that the majority of people with a disability are less likely to be employed. And if they are employed, they don't want to inspire to aspiration. So they're not going to apply for the judge's position. They're not going to apply to be Prime Minister or to be the film director because they've got a job. So we want to change that. So there's just some figures there that you can see from the slide. So if we go to the next slide, please. Some legal stuff, legal stuff. So the Equality Act was a long time in coming. It used to be the Disability Act, I think, and there was many campaigns about 25 years ago for equal rights and inclusion. And we've moved on from 25 years ago, but we've still got a huge wall to climb. In fact, it's Everest to climb to get full inclusion and equality in society for everybody. So, you know, the definition is there, disability, physical or mental impairment, substantial and long-term adverse effect, the ability to carry out normal day-to-day activities, substantial, more than minor, 12 months or lifelong condition. And of course, you can ask for workplace adjustments or reasonable adjustments to assist you in your employment or in your studying. And as soon as you declare you have a disability, your employer or institution has to act on that. So that's just some of the legal stuff. So if we go to the next slide, please. So me, oh dear, where do we go? We'll start from the beginning. I went to primary school and I was very, very naughty. I was always at the headmaster's office But he had an amazing way with kids. It was brilliant. And even though I was getting told off for being naughty, he just didn't feel like you were being told off, although you kind of were. And and my naughtiness was really because I struggled, but I wasn't diagnosed. I struggled, and so my behavior manifested itself in different ways. And it was when I went to secondary school that my struggles really, really impacted. And I was told I was stupid, I was lazy, I was pathetic, I was useless, I won't amount to anything because I'm obviously very, very thick. And literally, you know, the dunce hat went on, and that's how I was treated. And I wasn't treated like that through my peers, I was treated like that through the system and unfortunately the teachers there at that time. And I was told that I couldn't take any exams because I was obviously too stupid. And at one time, I remember I did not want to go into the English class because I was so scared. The anxiety would build up, and it was like a volcano erupting of fright. And I decided I was going to walk out of school and I was going to just go somewhere else at 14 onto a railway line, and that would be the end. And then somebody called me back and said, "Oi, Sam, where you going?" I said, "I'm just going over there, aren't I?" I said, no, we got class. Oh, okay. And that kind of interrupted my plan, which is good, but good interruption. But I was very low in my self-esteem, and mental health was on the floor. Before the floor, it was actually at year 4, I think. I just didn't want to be around anyone. I was very isolated. Nobody understood me. I didn't understand me because I didn't know what was wrong. Why couldn't I spell very well? Why couldn't I read that text out very well? I didn't know. And I remember I was told to sit and stand in class one day and read something, and I could read it, but it was very slow and people were sort of sniggering and whispering, you know, and it was a really awful experience. Anyway, at 15, I was told I was so stupid I couldn't go into any exams. So I left school without any qualifications. I got a job washing pots on Hastings Pier because I'm originally from Sussex, lived in Hastings and Brighton, now in Kent. But I've always been creative. Ever since I was 7, even though my writing was pretty rubbish, I'd always written something out. I always had stories in my head. I was always daydreaming. I was always looking at different things and making these stories in my head work. So we go to the next slide, please. Don't put the boots in on learning. So let's get that. My reading and writing and spelling might be upside down. I get confused easily, as left and right is different to me, and maths is a scientific entity. My brain just works like spaghetti. All I want is to be treated equally. And I wrote that little poem because I just thought, don't put the boot in on learning, says it all. Give everybody an inclusive start and chance. That's all I was asking. So if we go, public health warning for the next slide, I think, if I've got that one right. Oh, no, it's not. It's not a public health warning, but that's the next slide. It's the next slide that's public health warning. Okay, you won't amount to much. So I was 18, no qualifications, struggled to get a job, unemployed, went for a job interview in a supermarket. It was one of those posh boutique ones that looked nice and very expensive. And I went for a job interview. I had to do something on the computer. Of course, the green and the red came up everywhere on the computer for the spelling and grammar. And the guy looked at me and went, nah. So I was told, you won't amount to much. And those were his exact words. And so the black cloud came down on me, the rain was on my shoulders. And I just thought, is that it? I've got no value at 18. I'm done. you know, and I went out and I bought a Ladybird book of spelling and grammar because I thought if a 7-year-old can understand it, then I can. Of course I couldn't understand it. I didn't know what it was. I didn't understand grammar. What's a verb and consonant and all that? I haven't got a clue. Where do you put the full stops and things like that? And I just struggled terribly because still no diagnosis. And I decided I was going to join a creative writing group. So I joined a creative writing group and they really accepted me for who I was. And they asked me to perform at Brighton Free Festival. So I performed my first poem at Brighton Free Festival and I felt amazing. And people were clapping. I thought, oh, why are these people clapping? It surely can't be for me. There's something wrong. Why are they clapping? And I kept turning around like this, thinking there must be somebody really famous behind me. And they weren't. They were clapping for me. And I went, oh. And that's when my self-esteem started to build. And I had lots of counselling, 4 years of counselling to help me. And that's kind of where my creative journey started. I felt welcomed. And this is the public health warning for the next slide, because you're all going to go in a massive, big, loud voice. Ah, next slide, please, Neil. Told you. Look, you're all saying it. I told you. So the next slide is my gorgeous dog called Spanner, and he was unique in himself because he had pink and blue tongue, which you can see, lovely, gorgeous wet nose, and floppy up and down ears, absolutely gorgeous. He was a half Chow Chow and a half Labrador. And he saved my life. My life changed and he was beautiful. And whatever your day, whatever happens, yeah, Spanner is gorgeous. And his name was even unique, Spanner. Who calls a dog Spanner? And he was just beautiful. And whatever your day, whatever your mental health at the time, always have that waggly tail and hello, I'm here. So we go to the next slide, please. So unfortunately, when I was 18, I was homeless. So I was sofa surfing, staying at friends, sleeping on floors. I used to go into the public loos. I slept in a car once as well. And then there was a knock on the window by the policeman. And I just had to sort of say, oh yeah, I'm waiting for some gig, but he didn't know that. And I went into a public loo to wash my hair. And there's all these people coming in and out. And of course, there was a lovely aroma of coconut shampoo and conditioner everywhere. And I had very long hair at those days, so it was quite difficult to you know, wash my hair. I lived in a squat with Spanner, my gorgeous, gorgeous looking dog, overlooking Brighton Pier. And if anyone watches a program, which I have to admit to, called Four in a Bed, it's about people who go around different people's B&Bs and they judge them. So what was the breakfast like, good or bad, things like that. And where I stayed when I was squatting in this place is now one of the posh B&Bs, and it was actually on that programme. But I stayed in the penthouse for free. Didn't have much of a stairway, but I stayed there, so yay. So if we go to the next slide, please. Now, life can take you in many different directions, can't it? And I met this guy just by chance, hence the chance encounter. And I've called him the old man in rags because when I met him, he was talking to the dog and he had holes in his jackets. His shirt needed an iron. His hair was all messy, although mine's really messy all the time. And he had really big, thick rimmed glasses that needed a clean. But he had a distinguished feature about him. And we got talking and I must have got my words all muddled up or something, because he said, I think you might be dyslexic. Never heard of the word, didn't know what it was, no idea. And he said, well, what do you do? And I said, well, I don't do anything. I'm homeless at the moment. I'm looking for a job. I'm trying to write. And he said, well, why don't you enroll at the local college? I teach there. But he actually was a professor at law at the University of Sussex. And he used to teach in the evening at like a night school. And I said, don't be stupid, I can't do that. People like me don't go to college, that's for other people. And he said, no, I want you to come. And he was quite insistent and I enrolled and he mentored me. So I passed my GCSEs. I passed A-levels. I did a creative writing course. I passed a law degree. So I now got, after my name, LLB, Bachelor of Laws. I got a 2-1 law degree. And when I was studying my degree, my friends used to go on the whiteboard to explain things to me and break it down so I could get it in my head because of working memory with dyslexia. So I was just overwhelmed by the support that he gave me. Unfortunately, I don't think he's around anymore, but I was just absolutely overwhelmed by his insistence and how he broke things down. Although I sat at the back of the class, I didn't want to be anywhere near anybody that could see me because, again, I was still not diagnosed. And it was only when I had difficulties in my professional life that I had to get a diagnosis. And it was then that I had the answer, and all the emotions about, oh, I'm thick, and you believe you're thick because it's a self-fulfilling, I can't say the word properly, but prophecy. You believe it. So eventually I started to think, dyslexia, started to read about it, started to perform and highlight the issues with my poetry, and thought, okay, that's what it is. So if we go to the next slide, please. So we are not lazy, useless or stupid. And that's my Turner submission. As you can see, the brilliant artwork drawn by myself. If that doesn't win a Turner Prize, I'd be very upset. Next slide, please. This is what my writing looked like when I was 18. It's a little bit better now. I'm actually can read and write a bit better, but it's still very messy. And you can see what it's like. And there's my happy face because I am dyslexic and proud, and dyslexia to me is a gift, and it is to be celebrated because we are all different. And if we have an inclusive society, we should celebrate that. And that's what we're doing today by bringing everyone together. So we go to the next slide, please. So I thought I'd read a selection of my poetry, if that's all right. And I'll just read one after the other, just a few bits of poetry, then maybe a few questions, and then we'll go to the writing shop, if that's okay. So as we're coming near Halloween, I thought I'd read one that's a bit scary, but it's not really. It just makes you think, maybe, hopefully. It's called The Snow Has Gone. The gods have put the roof on. The snow has gone. Mud-sodden socks from holes in old worn boots slip on uneven paths and wet tree stubs. Reach to blood on branches from a fox's kill, invisible. Police tape conceals a space. No evidence of foul play, but speckles of gold dust from the devil who was lost and walked this way. There are no birds chatting. A lone dog barks, but he's scared. The woods are different today. Scary, scary. So I wrote a poem. I did the Edinburgh Festival a couple of years ago before COVID, and I was supposed to go again, but you know, this awful C word has stopped quite a lot of stuff in the creative world. And I did a show called the Amazing Dyslexic Poetry Show, highlighting everything dyslexic and making it hopefully a bit of fun and with a serious message behind it to be inclusive of everyone. So I did a poem called I Don't Do Maths Because I Don't. I don't do maths. Numbers don't work in my head. I don't allow them to get out of bed. I mean, what are they? They don't get on with me and I don't get on with them. We are not friends. So why is it that there are amicable numbers? I'm not amicable with you. I don't do maths. Why are there cardinal numbers? Is it to do with religion? And if so, what are cardinal numbers? I don't do maths. Last but not least, scatter plots. It sounds like murderous plots, a series of various scenarios scattered to the four winds. No wonder I don't understand it, because you know what? I don't do maths. Thank you. So I've got a few more, and then we'll go to the creative writing workshop. So this is a poem about inclusion called Inclusion. Inclusion isn't an illusion, but it's powerful, that one word. My inclusion is different to yours. It's not absurd. I can walk into buildings, climb stairs without fears. Your inclusion is not like mine. You struggle with accessibility, but that's not your fault. It's those that design buildings, and they should be for all, not just a few. Why should you have to rely on people's goodwill to order a drink at a bar that's too high, like a cult that no one can enter? All you want to do is drink some malt or beer and have some cheer. And although it has taken a long time navigating many obstacles, like on a Marine's assault course, parked chairs, tables with no free space, a toilet that is broken, and cars on pavements, you are blocked as the curb is too steep to roll over. With sticks, walker or wheelchair, your normal is different in every way. My inclusion is different to yours. I can read better with orange, as I am slow to digest, like a hard, wild sponge wedged between the seabed rocks unfreed. I struggle with spelling, grammar, and mathematical logistic, as my brain works in a different way. I'm unique in that way, just like you. I try to hide my invisible disability, as my writing is never in sequence, and sentences with nouns, verbs, consonants, I simply don't understand. I don't use them. I look at things differently, visually, with buildings to mark distances and software to guide my hand, like animals playing in fields. We are all different, but beautiful and proud. To be included is the best feeling of all. To be excluded is the worst feeling of all. So take some time, have a look around, just a friendly hello. How are you today? You will be inclusive of everyone. A smile goes a long way and will often make a person's day. So I've just got, let me just check the ones. Yeah, a couple more, a few more, one short one, and then we'll go to the writing workshop. This is called We Are the Amazing Dyslexics, because of course we are. We are the amazing dyslexics. We are funny, we are witty, we have no apology or pity. We focus at a slower speed. We are not greedy, it takes us time to read. We are amazing. Our minds work in many different ways. They scramble about until we decide to spurt things out. And we are ready for the words or the numbers. We are just incredibly unique when we speak. We are not scared of Zeus. As he unleashes his thunder, we sit back and chill and say, we're hanging loose. We have so many gifts. We can use dragons to help them with their words. Some even have a mishmash bosh and write on the page upside down. People have been known to stand on their heads to engage. We are less stressed with less haste. We read and write at our own pace. We are the amazing dyslexics. We are doctors, judges, inventors, film directors, and so much more. We can paint pictures that have magical harmony. We can dance with Bacchus and love like Aphrodite. We can achieve greatness, walking on the moon and kissing the sun. Being dyslexic, we are our own person. We don't follow like sheep. We have our own bleep. We're your best friends and soulmates. We are the amazing dyslexics, like Einstein, Branson, Whoopi Goldberg, Will.i.am, even Da Vinci written into history. Yeah, we are the amazing dyslexics. I told you so. So my last two poems, one is called My Mermaid. My mermaid is still. She, he is made of red clay. My mermaid smiles every day. My mermaid has half a tail with many colors and patterns. My mermaid is beautiful. It's good to be different. That's just her, him, natural and wonderful in every way. Being unique, that's to be celebrated every day. And my final poem is called My World. My world is upside down. My world is orange with squiggly black texts. My world is different to yours. My world is cruel. My world is dancing on an upside down sun, staring at the moon and touching them both in unison to make a tune that makes no sense. My world has ink spread on pages the wrong way round. My world is a mess as I try to calculate on my fingers up to 10. My world is undressed. My world is impressive, fun and full of laughter. My world sees things differently. My world is chaotic, but organized in my mind as I know what I want to say. The words come out in my own conventional style and way. My world sees beauty, large trees stretching on lined lawns where leaves are sprinkling and birds pecking. My world has brick walls as numbers bypass me. My world doesn't follow structure. My world has its own clock like trains on a track. Listen, you can hear her as nature's heart beats back. My world is okay. My world is dyslexic. My world is dyspraxic. My world is dyscalculus. My world is perfect, just for me. Thank you very much. So we are going to go to the creative writing workshop. Oh, Tessa's got a question. Yes, please do, Tessa.
It was a reaction.
I was just clapping. Oh,
sorry, I misheard that. Thank you very much. Thank you. So yes, if you just go to a couple of the others, I think on the slides I've got like just some details about me as well. I forgot to mention Neil at the end of that presentation.
Sure, give me a second. I'll just bring those back up.
I think it was the last one. Sorry about that. I should have mentioned.
No, not at all. Not at all.
So if anyone wants to find out anything about what I do, it's kind of all there. I'm sure, I don't mind if that's shared on the chat, however you want to do it. But
I'll pop those in the chat box, Sam.
Yeah, that's just,
right.
And that's my book, Dyslexic Me, which I'm not sure if you can see, but it's on there anyway. So if we go to the writing workshop now. So let's just
bear with me.
Okay. So we go to the first slide. And thank you, Neil, for doing all the slides.
Very welcome.
So just a bit about what it is going to be. That's my company, Fun with Words Productions. I make creative writing workshops for all, making writing fun for all abilities. So if we go to the next slide, please. No need to worry about spelling grammar. Have fun is a must. That's a major big tick. Enjoy writing. Explore your inner creativity. But I can't, ... Well, there are many ways to tell a story. So don't worry about correcting things. Just write and have some fun. So we go to the next slide, please. I have 3 questions and you can shout out, put your hand up, however you feel comfortable. And it's just a bit of fun. So it's no right or wrong answer. It's just to get your mind thinking. So first question, what is your favorite fruit? What's the name of a story you like? I'll repeat this, so don't worry if you can't get them all. What does the sun taste like? So I'm going to say it again. What is your favorite fruit? What's the name of a story you like? What does the sun taste like? So just give you a few seconds for that. And you can shout it out or put it on chat, however you feel comfortable with. So let's take that back. So a fruit you taste and smell, and it has sensations as you're eating it. The sun is burning, volcanic, hot. So it's all describing words, all describing how you would write a story. And looking at ways of smelling it, smelling that fruit. How would you describe that? All those sort of things. So just hold that, just hold those thoughts about how you would interact with your chosen thing you're going to write about, whether it's a fruit, a carrot, a lentil, whatever. And how would you describe that? What would you look for? How would you describe its smell? How would you describe what it was doing? And with the sun, would that burn you if you ate it? Would it not? How would you describe that? So let's just have a look at some of the chat. I can't see the chat actually, Neil. Is there any question? Is there any answers in the chat?
There are a couple of answers in the chat. So Megan says the mango for favorite fruit, and the sun, mango as well.
Fantastic, I love that. Okay, that's brilliant.
Brilliant. And then Marilise, sun equals orange bursting with juice.
I love that. Absolutely love that. That's so descriptive. I can see that. And that's the good thing about writing. It's like drawing a picture and telling a story. So it's visual. So I can see that description, a sun bursting with fruit.
And we've got Tessa put the sun equals vindaloo. Love that.
I agree. And I've never tried a vindaloo, but I love curry. And my hottest I've tried, I think, is Danzak, and I love that. Coconut and summer. Oh, I love that, Karen. Coconut and summer. That's lovely. So that really good ideas there to get you feeling about the ideas about how you can describe your writing. So if we go to the next slide, please. So we are all creative. Doesn't matter whether you're a beginner, whether you can write, whether you can spell. The workshop is for everyone to get involved and just have fun. And if you remember Shakespeare, in his first folios, he never used grammar, so the actors had to guess when they had to go on stage. So I think instead of being down with the kids, I'm up with Shakespeare, and that's all right with me. So we're all with Shakespeare, so I'm happy with that. No grammar here, please. Whatever you feel comfortable with. So next slide, please. So what is creative writing? So it's fiction, poetry, stories, plays. It's basically any writing that displays imagination. So that's what creative writing is in a nutshell. So if we go to the next slide, please. So some writing prompts to get you thinking. We had our 3 questions and you've all done absolutely excellent with those. So nature, landscapes, trees, the sea, the oceans, waves, how they interact with each other, the different colours of the clouds and the shadows on the water, animals, your favourite dog or horse or lion or tiger, people, disability, objects, phone. There's so many things you can write about and use as your writing techniques and subjects. So as I said, I tend to write a lot about dyslexia, but I also write about nature, war, inclusiveness, all those different types of genres that you can choose from. So if we go to the next slide, please. So poetry, just get my little notes, is an expression, a definition, an expression of feelings and ideas. It uses style and rhythm, but remember, it doesn't have to rhyme. So you can have prose poetry, free verse poetry that doesn't have to rhyme, but it's just an expression and feeling. It's to get the reader to feel that they're involved, that they are walking through that field and touching flowers and smelling the grass as it's growing, or the soil. So it's about that expression of how you feel. So if we go to the next slide, please. So styles of poetry. So there's free verse poetry, which is quite modern, anything, any length. Rhymed, well, it rhymes. I wore my hat and my cat So a crude example of a rhyme. Then there's haiku, which is a Japanese, started in the 14th century, actually. It's very old, Japanese style of writing. And it consists, there's some people call it 575, and it consists of line 1 has 5 syllables, line 2 has 7 syllables, and line 3 has 5 syllables. Now, being dyslexic and having difficulties with all these complicated English language sounds, I had to look up the word syllable, which is part of a word that is a sound. So it's looking at all these different ways of writing. So example, a dog, the word dog is 1 syllable. Banana is 3 syllables, so ba-na-na. So for example, I'll give you a sample of a haiku. River makes a noise, crash. Pebbles shine in the moonlight. Fast cars rushing by. These aren't my poems, by the way. I'm just giving you examples. Example 2. The flowers are still. The wind is holding them there. Winter is coming. So that's just an example of how that works. And it's quite nice to do haikus because you can write lots of different poems in a haiku. And then we have the acrostic poetry, which is a form of poem in which the first syllables of each line spell out a word. So you might have stable or horse, and you line up the word and you do horse. So something rhyming with H. So you might say house, and then ocean, or something like that. So you build up the word from the first word. There's so many different types of poetry styles. So alliteration is repeating sounds. My puppy makes pizza. My puppy makes pizza in the poem. There's lots and lots of different types of poetry: rhythm, non-rhythm, nonsense poems, a parody. So all these different types, which we don't have enough time to go through now. And concrete poem, a poem in which the meaning is conveyed by the placement and design of the words on the page. So sometimes called visual poetry, which I suppose I do a lot of visual poetry. So if I was describing someone in the war, I might say he's wearing a uniform, he's looking like this, so it's very visual, so you can describe what he's like. So if we go to the next slide, please. So we start a story or a poem or a play with what's the big idea. So you start with a few words to build your story. Some people will start with a title. I tend to start with a title, then sometimes I change it as it goes along. I think, oh, that title doesn't fit what I've written, or the writing doesn't fit this, or I might change the title. So different people start in different ways. So you start with a few words to build your story. So who are your characters? Who's your protagonist? Are they going to be naughty? Are they going to be nice? Are they going to be different? What are they going to be? Are they going to interact with the other characters? Are they going to be on their own? And show the reader what you want to say, but don't tell them. So don't spoil it. So if we go to the next slide, please. So again, another example is Boys Lost at Sea. Were they on an adventure? Were they scared? Were they frightened? Or did they just think it was fun? The unicorn without a horn, what does that mean? Does their magic powers go? Or do they get more magic powers? Or do they not have magic powers? Disability. My disability is this. I can do this. No barriers to my success or my progression. I recovered from COVID, topical subject. So, you know, all these different themes and things you can do in relation to writing tips. So next slide, please. So I've done loads of talking, so it's your turn. So let's get writing. So you can write a little poem, you can write a short story, you can start a play, you can start your book. It doesn't matter what you want to do. So what I thought we'd do is, with your digital device or pen and paper, we're going to do some timed writing. And that's so annoying because you find that you get really into the story and then suddenly Sam will say, stop. And it's like, oh, what happens now? So you're going to do some timed writing. So I want you to have a think about a subject, a topic, and write. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes. So get writing, starting now. Stop. Isn't that irritating? So you've got to stop. So isn't that irritating? You've all got your heads down. You're all somewhere amazing. And suddenly there's this irritating voice from Sam saying, stop. That's hard to do, isn't it? That is really hard to do. So now, if we go to the next slide, please, Leon. This is optional. You can read part of what you've written, your story, your poem, your play, bringing your words to life. You don't have to try too hard, just make it fun. Now, if you're happy to, you can read a bit of what you've written. You don't have to, it's not compulsory, not getting marked on it. But if you would like to share what you've written, then please put your hand up or one at a time, just share what you've written. Does anybody feel comfortable doing that? If not, that's not a problem. I'm not going to force it, but it'd be nice to hear what you've said. Does anyone feel comfortable doing that?
Yeah, I'll have a go. It's Megan here.
Hi, Megan. Nice to see you.
Hi, you put a mango in my head. So I've never done a haiku, and I'm dyslexic, so I thought let's give it a go. It's only 575, but I'm okay at maths. So I put the taste of summer, sweet lushness, dripping, golden, messy, joy, carefree. I think that's right.
I absolutely love that. That's a woo, Megan. So cool. I love that. Well done. It's brilliant. But how did you find that? Did you find that? How did you find that your creativity just smashed out?
I had to draw a mango first. I don't go for words. I go for pictures, and then I'll come off a picture into words. And I gave myself permission to do that when I was doing my doctorate. Beforehand, I thought I had to only use words. And when I was diagnosed with dyslexia, the person said, "You are incredibly visual. Use that, play for that." So I can't write with a pen. I have to have a pencil and ideally paper. And once I've drawn something, like you had something else, that immediately picked a word. You had sea, and you were going to put trees, but you put tress, and immediately a mermaid popped into my mind. And that's I'd start with pictures and then put words, and this is why I thought a haiku, I could count to 5 and 7 and 5. I'll do that first. It's less scary.
That's brilliant. I love it, Megan. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's great to meet you, and thank you so much. You're absolutely wonderful.
Carl, we'll come over to you.
Okay. I just want to say, Megan, I was in an event a few weeks ago that Megan was the speaker. And I think, Megan, are you Wolverhampton University? Yeah. And what is your title there?
I'm the Professor of Learning and Teaching in Academic Practice. So I work across the university, but I'm also co-chair of a disabled staff network. And I work with staff on their learning and teaching and their academic practice. But I was very much, the other speakers, I came from an art and design background. But then I did a master's in business, and my doctorate was in developmental mentoring. But I was always classed as non-academic, which is really, when I made professor, I really wanted to go back to Miss Simpson, who made me read out aloud, and is still traumatized, but I now really want to go back and tell her, so who's non-academic now?
I think you should. Well done. Have you got your story, Carl?
Yeah, so on the story, I wrote, "Having fun today," that's the title. "I'm dyslexic, but want all to be included. Why? Because without inclusivity, the world cannot unleash 10% of dyslexic. It's like a bulldog on a leash. Let's get dyslexics released from their collar, but by society."
That's brilliant. That's absolutely very visual, and it gives a real picture about what the sort of dyslexic breaking free. That's how I see it, a dyslexic person breaking free. So that's really visual. So well done, Carl. That's really nice. Has anybody else got a story to share? Okay, well, we'll do another one then. So get your heads down, choose a subject. And no, don't choose a subject. I'm going to choose the subject for you. And I want you to write about the unicorn without a horn. Off you go. 2 minutes. Stop. Isn't that so irritating? Because you're just about to probably fly into the sky and you hear this irritating word saying stop on me. It's hard to do, but it's such a good exercise. And it shows that you're so creative, you've got your heads down and you're in a different world and you're just exploring everything that the unicorn is going to do or don't do. So who wants to feedback in relation to their story about the unicorn without a horn? Anybody?
I'll go.
Go on then, Neil.
Go involved. The unicorn without a horn. He once had a horn, it's no longer there. Everyone used to stop and stare, but not anymore, not now. Now he's lost in the crowd, no longer standing out.
I love that. Oh, it's sad. That's a really sad poem, isn't it?
I love unicorns, and it's kind
So
of
do
like when you take away that magicalness, they're just a horse.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else want feedback on the unicorn? If not, we'll go to another one. We've got a few times. Megan. Oh, I love that. I love that drawing. Wow, that's very cool. I can't read the text though, but I can see the drawing there, Megan.
It says, if only people knew I was a unicorn without a horn, because the hippo is a seahorse or a river horse.
Of course it is, yeah.
So I'm sorry, but that's how my brain works. I went to horse, river.
Don't ever apologise. That's fantastic. That's so cool. I love that. So we're going to do another one before we go into the Q&A. So we've just got time for another one. So I'm going to give you flowers. I want you to write about flowers. You've got about a minute. Well, 2 minutes. Let's be generous. Flowers. Oh, just seen a message from Anthony Davis. Hi, Neil. I don't know if you want to read that out before we just go on to the next poem.
Sure. Anthony said his daughter Abigail is too shy to speak, but her unicorn loses its horn on its birthday, but it grows back by magic.
Oh, I love that. I love that, Abigail. Thank you for sharing your wonderful
Thank you.
and keep writing. Thank you. Right, flowers. Get on with it. Stop. How irritating is that voice? You're going to hate me at the end of this, aren't you? Okay, who wants to feedback on their flower poem or flowers poem? Anyone?
Whilst others get ready, so flowers. If you have flowers in your mind, you cannot have any weeds. So think flowers.
Brilliant. Love that. I love that. So no weeds. Although some weeds are really beautiful in fields, aren't they? When you go walking in a field, they are really beautiful. So let's just go to the next slide, please. So please ask any questions. Happy to help. That's my happy little smiley face. And I'm so glad that you enjoyed the writing. It really makes you think. And I would encourage you to carry on writing. It's really good for your mental health. And it saved me from lots of my mental health issues and having all the counselling. So I've always loved writing. It's been my escape. And as Megan shows, there's different ways to write, drawing a picture, and us dyslexics are very visual and very creative. So thank you so much for your fantastic poems and your fantastic input and for listening to me today. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. And thank you to Neil and everybody who set this up. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sam. Does anyone have any questions for Sam before we go for a comfort break and we come back for our discussion? Any questions at all? No? Okay, we will take it. Any in the chat box? Give me 2 seconds. No, nothing in the chat box, Sam, but we might pick up some questions in a little while. So thank you for sharing your incredible story. Just an incredible. Ian says thank you very much. I enjoyed that. So we will take a quick comfort break. We'll be back in a few minutes where we will have a panel discussion. So if you do have any questions for Carl, Sam, or Jonathan, we'll be back in a few minutes. So we'll see you in a second.